What's good, everyone? You know, cutscenes in video games have been around for a long time, but for a long time video games didn't really have any spoken dialogue at all, but that doesn't mean that those cutscenes weren't effective in pulling us, the players, right into the games. When video games first started introducing voice acting to accompany their cutscenes and gameplay, in many cases the games were elevated to a whole new level, with the character voices making us believe that these are actual beings in the game's universes, characters we sometimes end up caring about deeply during our playthroughs, sometimes deeply despising, or everything in between. Now, as we know, voice acting isn't always the most top quality in video games. In fact, I would say that overall, the reputation that English voice acting has in video games isn't really known for being, well, good. It often has a disconnected, weird, dreamlike feeling to it for a number of reasons. For example, dialogue scenes between two actors that are recorded without the two actors in the same room can feel very unnatural because the nuances in communicative speech are just altogether absent, so it can feel really disjointed. I found that this is mostly the case with the English dubs of video games and anime, because with the Japanese versions, the original script is, of course, in the Japanese language, so there's usually less room for error and everyone is on the same page as far as the project is concerned because there's no language barrier. For English dubs of games, there's so many issues that can go wrong in the process of localization, especially how the script is translated. Now, there are indeed many games with exceptionally good English voice acting. I'm not saying they don't exist by any means. That's not really what I'm here to talk about, however, because lurking in the foulest depths of video game voice acting history is a title that makes even the most veteran gamers tremble in an almost Lovecraftian cosmic fear. A title that has voice acting so insane, confusing, and oblique that there's really no way to describe it without just diving right into it, like a bottomless, murky abyss that no man has ever returned from with his sanity. So without further ado, let's take a look at the game with the most absolutely insane voice acting in history. Megaman is a platform action game by Capcom that's still going strong today, with its very first title released way back in 1987 for the original-ass Nintendo Entertainment System. The franchise now has dozens upon dozens of titles ranging from RPG spin-off series to games that stay pretty faithful to the side-scrolling action the franchise was originally familiar with. In fact, when all is said and done, Megaman is probably my very favorite video game franchise of all time, especially the Megaman X and Megaman Zero, perhaps even the Megaman ZX titles by Inti Creates. The game we're here to talk about, however, was released back in 1996 for the PlayStation and Sega Saturn. Megaman 8 is a fairly divisive game. Some might not like how the weird cutesy style of the level and enemy designs stray from the more traditional aesthetics of earlier titles. Some may get turned off by the unconventional level designs themselves, including some levels with really tedious designs, puzzles, and enemies that just don't really belong. But most will get turned off to Mega Man 8 because of the peculiar voice acting, the skeletons in Mega Man 8's weird funhouse closet, if you will. There's in-game voice acted sound bites for the bosses, and these get exceptionally abrasive and annoying. Sometimes the character voices are just plain confusing, not only unable to justify their existence in the game, but they're often so jarring that they take us right out of the game completely. Let's take a look, shall we? I'm sorry, could you repeat that for me real quick, dog? Could have sworn you said, I'm sorted. But your name says, I'm sorted. Alrighty, apparently Swordman introduces himself as Swordsman, despite his name being actually Swordman right there at the top of the screen. Swordsman, I mean Swordman, was voiced by Matthew Mearsbergen, who also voices Searchman. Let's see how Matthew voiced our other boss, Searchman.
Hey boy, come on!
Man, why would anyone say that to Mega Man? In that way, I mean. Couldn't he at least attempt to sound intimidating instead of, predatory?
Hey boy, I'm sorted.
Astro Man, voiced by Wayne Doster, sounds like a dundering, anxious fool for some reason.
I come here, but I don't know what to do.
Robots are usually so cool, but apparently the cast thought completely otherwise. He could have probably said these lines in a different way and the effect would have been completely fine, but my God. But the crown of the least intelligent voice-acted character goes to our favorite bud, Frostman. He's our little champ.
I'll crush you. I will beat you.
Who, boy. I mean, they probably didn't program him to play chess or anything like that, right? But now that we've familiarized ourselves with the Megaman franchise and the oddness of the in-game voice acting in Mega Man 8, let's get into the unspeakable horrors of the voice acting in the cutscenes. This is one of the early cutscenes from Mega Man 8 where we see Mega Man having a skirmish with one of my favorite characters from the Mega Man franchise, Bass, or Forte as he's known in Japan.
Megaman, today we finish this.
Hey, Zach! Why must I fight you? We are not enemies!
Shut up.
Did Mega Man just call Bass Bass? I've heard bad voice acting before, but you're telling me that Mega Man, the main character of the Mega Man franchise, doesn't even know how to properly pronounce the names of enemy robots he's fought before and very familiar with by now?
Hey, Zach!
Now let's address perhaps the most egregious example of why the voice acting in Mega Man 8 is so insane, and that reason is Dr. Light. In the next scene, Dr. Light informs us of a danger headed for Earth. This is where things really get taken up a notch in craziness because the reasoning for why the voice actor for Dr. Light, Jack Evans, made Dr. Light sound like an absent-minded, mush-mouthed dolt is one of the most curious things about these cutscenes and maybe even Mega Man 8 in general.
A strange meteor has fallen to Earth just a while ago. This meteor seems to be emitting a powerful energy signature. Something this powerful must not fall into the hands of evil.
Now, let's keep in mind, Dr. Light is an engineering genius of unparalleled skill. He created Mega Man, he created Roll, and dozens of others of the world's most advanced robots, and worked through all the programming kinks that come with giving consciousness to an android. And then all of a sudden in Mega Man 8, once we hear Dr. Light for one of the first times, he's not giving me smart vibes, if you know what I mean. He sounds really absent-minded.
I'm almost finished. The battery will be charged in 10 minutes. You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man. That's a good question. We may be able to locate another energy emission from the radar room. When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wow.
I will say that Duo, voiced by Wayne Doster, and the two characters voiced by Daryl Stoger, Bass, Bass, and Tengu Man, are actually really well voiced and fitting for the characters. Mega Man also is really well voice acted by Ruth Shiraishi, other than the whole Bass thing. Let's wrap things up, shall we? During my research for this video, my thesis about the dangers of localization and translation at the beginning of this video that I discussed turned out to be mostly correct. There's a March 2021 YouTube video on the channel ColeFam where they interview Ruth Shiraishi, the voice of Megaman in Mega Man 8. I've linked to that video in the description and also to ColeFam's channel, which really is neat, and I highly suggest you check it out. But it's really crazy because it really sounds like they're interviewing Mega Man because I play Mega Man 8 so much. I also play a lot of Megaman X4, and Ruth Shiraishi also does the voice of Mega Man in that one too. But the ColeFam interview does directly address many of the issues. In the interview, Ruth Shiraishi relates that she wasn't told that Bass was based. Japanese devs either didn't care enough to put a lot of money into the English translation or I just don't know. She also discusses the fact that the cast didn't record the scenes together. This is something I talked about regarding how recording lines separately makes the voice acting seem disjointed and off. And finally, confirming my theory involving translation and the errors involved. In the ColeFam interview, Ruth Shiraishi describes how she clearly remembers the script saying Rockman, the Japanese title for the game and not Megaman. She mentions having to be like, isn't this game Megaman? And she doesn't give the exact reasoning for this, but in a lot of ways it doesn't really matter because it's obvious that something went wrong in the process from turning the script from Japanese and translating it into English. Also, I'm just going to say this video isn't to disparage any of the voice actors by any means. I just had a bit of a go at their work in this game. Nothing below the belt. It's a publicly available title in a very famous franchise. Mega Man 8 is maybe one of the best examples in video game history of the milieu of problems that can occur when localizing the voice acting from Japanese into English, and along with the many gameplay issues and different styles of the game, it's a black sheep of the Mega Man family. But it's my black sheep, and it's one of my favorite Mega Man games ever created, and I'm not sure for the reason. That's why I wanted to explore that with this video, because Mega Man 8 truly is, with all its quirks, flaws, and mind-melting voice acting choices, an enigma in video game history that could never be recreated even if anyone tried. Thanks for watching. Have you guys played Mega Man 8? Did you ever play it again after you played it for the first time? Why or why not? Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it such much, and I'll be sure to bring you more awesome content on the regular. I'm Dizzy1, and you guys? You guys are the best. Blake.
Recover all the energy resources immediately, Megaman.